Yo, it's good. It's Young Honey. It's kind of rainy outside, so I'm going to read some scary stories. I hope you enjoy. If you do, drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much. I worked at an oil refinery for a while, and everyone told stories of this guy who would just eat chips while taking a shit. I'm pretty skeptical by nature, and coupling that with the general level of fucking around amongst my peers, I figured it was just a myth. Well, one night, I'm working my 10th 12-hour shift in a row, so I've had more than a few cups of coffee and find myself in dire need of a shit around 3 a.m. So I head into the old mobile shit trailer, think 30 feet double wide trailer full of urinal and stalls. So there I am, pants, coveralls, and a couple sweaters at my ankles, phone in hand, minding my own business. When I hear the door creak open and the shuffling of feet and the rustling of coveralls as someone pops into the stall next to me. At this point, I'm already thinking this dude is weird. There are 30 stalls and he went into the one right next to me, the one in use. But the weird level got turned up to 11 when I hear the telltale rustle of a bag of chips. My brain instantly recalls stories of the chip shitter. I listen in disbelief as this fiend rips open his bag of munchies and digs in. The sounds of that monster munching down potato chips while simultaneously unloading what can only be described as a crime against humanity in that toilet will haunt my nightmares until the end of my days.
I love this place.
That's terrifying energy.
I like to come here and drink a soda with
That's horrifying energy. I was a field geologist in the outback about 12 hours north of Adelaide. One day, I was driving the truck and saw what looked like a flagpole sticking up in the middle of nowhere. I wasn't anywhere near a farm or anywhere else that people would be, so I decided to drive over and check it out. It was a dead dog fully impaled on a spike. Oh, fuck. Like from butt to mouth. Oh, fuck times two. Took some pictures and had my boss call the cops, but for the rest of the assignment, I was freaked out that some maniac was out there with me. Yeah, I would too. Doesn't matter if it was a domestic dog or dingo. It does not matter. And who the fuck was asking for pictures? I used to be a delivery driver, which doesn't sound very remote because it isn't. However, I did have to deliver to some pretty remote places. One time, I delivered to a trailer park just barely inside our designated delivery zone, and it was very dark and poorly lit. I leave my car running and keep the headlights and inside lights on to go deliver the pizza. Upon returning to my car, I sit down in the driver's seat and look up to see a creepy old man standing less than 3 feet from the side of my car. He was just staring. It was the equivalent of a jump scare. I was just driving forward, like shit, as you do. Had to do a U-turn to get out of the park. When I turned around, the man was standing in the middle of the road, so I freaked out there for a second before speeding around him, only to watch him attempt to chase my car out of the trailer park. I put in my 2 weeks after that. Would have put in my fucking 2 minutes after that. I'm not sure if this counts because it's a farm, but when you live on a farm, you work on a farm, so I guess I'll tell it. I grew up on a farm, and in high school, I used to mess around with my friends by hiding and making them find me. One night, my friend was over, and we were waiting on this other guy. We see him pull up, so we start running off to hide. It's funny because they have to wander around somewhere they're unfamiliar with or go ask my parents and be told, too bad, you're gonna have to go find her. It's like force hide and go seek. Anyway, this one night, I saw my friend hiding in the building while I run for the trees. I was hiding under some bushes and heard some breathing like human breathing. There were no animals around. It creeped me out so bad. I ran out of the hiding spot to go greet my friend. I felt so uncomfortable for the rest of the night. Sometime during the night, my dad heard something and went out to investigate. In the morning, he discovered that one of our cows was killed and butchered. Good question below. Butchered as in people meticulously separated the meat or something just started eating the cow. Someone stole that fucking meat. I did read down the thread. There actually is an explanation for it. Someone later down the line was selling stolen meat, and a few other farms actually did have that issue. But man, what the fuck? Who steals alive cow meat? It's a weird fucking hustle. I worked at a Boy Scout camp for 2 years in high school as a summer gig. A requirement for the Scouts to earn their Wilderness Survival Merit Badge was for them to set up shelters among other activities. Before I was staff, the Scouts would go 12 miles into the woods for their night out to a place called Shelby's Dream. Stories of kids waking up screaming, talking about ghosts running at them, even being hung from trees and other wild experiences. Everyone wrote those kids off, called them crazy. Eventually, there were things that people couldn't explain, such as staff members waking up with scratches and cuts on their bodies. Backstory of the place is that there was a mass killing of Southern soldiers, American Civil War. Shelby was the daughter of a Southern captain who was hung with his men. She supposedly came back to the camp to find her father and all of his men hung from the trees. We stopped sending groups to the location a few years back. One night, my cabin mates and I went out there to see if the rumors were true about that place. I heard voices, cries, and screams that echoed in the forest. There's a point where you cross a bridge, and once over the bridge, the wilderness stops. The woods continue, but there's no noise or animals or insects on that side. Absolute silence. That was one of the creepiest things I've ever experienced. Yeah, yeah. I I've been in the woods in some weird times. Nowhere like that. That's fucking terrifying. Catch me not doing that. Um, and yeah, no, that shit's creepy. I get scared when I hear certain footsteps and shit like that in the woods, but I'd be even more scared if I didn't hear anything. When I was in college, I interned with the Forest Service. A lot of the time, I just spent patrolling hiking trails. Right near Grandfather Mountain, I thought I heard someone yelling for help, but my supervisor told me to just ignore it. Apparently, someone went missing in the area in the 60s and was never found, and people would hear that voice all the time. Heard it twice more, and it always creeped me out. That creeped me out. Archaeologist here. We had found a rural graveyard on USFS, I don't know what that stands for, land in the middle of some mountain foothills in Nevada, and had started recording some features of the site. We noticed there were these creepy little porcelain angel figures on top of the graves, meaning that these were not super old graves, or at least were being somewhat maintained. We didn't have enough time to finish before sundown, so we wrapped it up and headed back to the bunkhouse. When we got back on Monday to finish the site, all the angels had been systematically covered by old cow patties, like someone was trying to hide them from us. That meant people had been watching us that Friday afternoon unbeknownst to us, and those people didn't want us there. We called the USFS archaeologist we had been working with, and she told us to finish and leave as quickly as possible. Yeah, there are a lot of reasonable explanations to that. Um, I would still leave as quickly as possible. I used to work with wildlife conservation and anti-poaching teams through sub-Saharan Africa as an ecologist and ranger, so I have a lot of stories. The thing that always bothered me the most were leopards. In one reserve, we had a local guy who ran his own small guiding business. He would cruise around in his 80s Land Cruiser, packed with tourists, and was notorious for breaking the rules. No off-trail driving, don't get too close to the animals, which is probably why people always booked him, because they always saw more. Anyway, one day he stopped his cruiser on a concrete and iron bridge that carried its users across a creek that swelled and cascaded through the valley during the wet season. It was dry season, so the creek bed was cracked and bone dry. He let his passengers out to take pictures down the creek bed. It was a rather scenic spot. He said he had to go take a leak, so he walked to the far side of the bridge and disappeared under the spot where the bridge connects to the berm that slowly sloped 30 feet down to the bottom of the creek bed. Next thing the tourist snapping the pics on the bridge see is a massive leopard leap out from under the bridge carrying the guide's body by his neck. As soon as it appeared, it vanished and the body was never found. All they located was a pack of cigarettes and a lighter he must have dropped in the attack. His last act of breaking rules got him killed. In a different location, a young tourist on vacation with her family slept on an open-air second floor of the lodge they rented despite being told not to. In the morning, her family came out to find the shredded hammock, pieces of clothes, and blood. They eventually found what was left of her stuffed in a tree not far away. Holy fuck! Have lots of other crazy stories about poachers. I don't know how to pronounce that word. I'm not even going to butcher it. Farm raids, civil unrest, animal attacks, lost and missing people, etc., etc. If anyone is interested at work right now, though, so can't post too much till later. Holy shit. That is a cool story, my guy. Thank you. I do mineral exploration in Alaska. I'm often transported by helicopter to very remote regions throughout the already remote state. A few years ago, my field partner and I came across what seemed like a bear kill of a caribou carcass, but when we got closer, it seemed odd. The only thing that remained were two spines and one head. The head was arranged such that the mouth was wide open, pointing up like it was screaming towards the heaven. The eyes were cut out. Very weird. There's also been many instances of coming across older miners' buildings littered with dog skeletons or having strangely new children's clothing strewn about. I fucking hate that. I'm calling it a night on that one. Good night. Damn.
Mountaintop soda is so cool. It's cool. Drinking a soda on the top of a mountain. The tallest mountain in the land. Makes the soda so cool and refreshing. I appreciate this soda. I appreciate this soda in my hand. Mountaintops. Walking in the desert with a soda. I need this soda to survive.